right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar dedicated to the 4021 release in its beta version. We are very happy to have you here with us today as we walk you through all the features that have been developed between 4020 R10 and the VT21 beta. You will discover a wide range of enhancements that will significantly enrich your 4D experience. As always, our teams have prepared high-quality demonstration. We are really excited to show you what they have been working on over the past months, and especially to share how these new features will empower your 4D applications. Here is what we have planned for today. We will start with a deep dive into the topic of artificial intelligence for 4D, AI for 4D, how AI fits into the 4D ecosystem and the new possibilities it unlocks. Then we will continue with a walkthrough of the major new features in 4D Qodly Pro with a focus on the most impactful improvements. We will also take a tour of the key updates related to development and deployment, enhancements designed to help you go further, faster, and with even greater comfort. As usual, please use the Q&A section if you have any question during the presentation. And after this section, I'll hand things over to Basma to continue with the next part of the program.
Hi, everyone. And today we'll start with the first category in today's agenda, which is AI. Now, 4021 changes how your application responds, not by adding more AI, but by letting the AI module work directly with your business logic and your own data. Now, imagine a user facing a deadline. They need answers, not navigation. They do not have the time or the patience to search through views or adjust filters. They simply ask the question the way any person would. For example, they could say, can you pull up the most recent unresolved security incidents for our European clients, the ones where access keeps failing? The AI module here understands the request, but it also recognizes what it cannot invent. It needs real information, geography, status, symptoms, everything your application already knows. This is when our new feature, AI tool calling, becomes essential. The model here identifies the function that should handle the request. In a case like this, it might select get incident details. It's the function, for example, that you exposed for incident retrieval. Your logic stays in charge. Your data remains the authority here, and the module becomes the bridge between intention and execution. Yet one question remains. Which incidents is the user talking about here? They did not give an ID, they gave context, they described a situation. Now here, semantic queries resolve this gap by turning that description into the closest match within your ORDA model. The model creates then an embedding from the prompts. Thanks to this vector you built, a semantic query object that carries the meaning of the request. That object is then placed directly into your ORDA query along with your traditional filters. Yes, you've heard that correctly. ORDA now supports semantic queries. And that is the value. The AI model selects and calls the correct function. Semantic queries reveal the record that function needs. Together, they create an experience where a natural question leads to a precise answer, fully powered by the structure you already built. You will feel how direct this becomes and understand how it changes the rhythm of your application through the demo Mathieu will show us next.
About AI with 4D21 and 4D AI Kit. I want to show you the kind of experience your end users can get with AI features within your 4D application. So let's start this demo and have a look at the structure. So we have here people with skills, a job detail, and an address. Having a look at the Data Explorer, we can get an idea of the data we have. So you see here we have 600 people with job details, a billing rate, so it's totally fictitious. All of this was generated with AI, and here addresses all around the world. So let's use this application to search data in it, and we will use here a first new kind of features you can get is the semantic search. So let's search for 4D developer living in France here, and you get them here. And remember, this score here is the cosine similarity, and the higher it is, the best this record will match your data. This is made possible thanks to 4D dot vectors or embeddings, in fact. So the lower you go in this list, the lower the record matches your search. So here, for example, it's still a 4D developer here, but he's living in Switzerland. Okay, this is semantic search. And now let's play a little bit with a ChatGPT-like UI within your 4D application. So this is the kind of interaction you can get. We will use OpenAI here, and let's prompt this application. I need to build a project team, and I need the application to propose me an adequate team for a project I have. So here with tool calling, this UI is using an AI model to query my data using 4D functions declared as tools. And here is the answer from the model. What's impressive is that within a chat UI, I can have information about my data, and I get my cost estimation and a draft proposal. Okay, so these are employees from my database, and they are listed here. So what I can do is to continue interacting within this discussion to refine my proposals. So I can remove the front-end developer and write a proposal that I can paste in a Word document. Elaborate on the fact this is the best solution for my client. So here you see that the front-end developer was removed, and I have an elaborate proposal. Okay, perfect. And to continue on the end user experience, let's imagine you have this little copy button here, and you bring back your Word document and you paste it. And now I can just continue refining this offer, adjusting the text as you would do with ChatGPT or Grok generated proposal, but here it's with your real data. So just imagine the time I just saved by working like that, and I think you understand the value of such features for your end users. I really recommend you to watch the replay of the AI webinars we made that will go into details into how you can implement this kind of feature, so semantic search and RAG. And I also recommend you to watch the 4D method we had a few weeks ago around the same topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mathieu, for the amazing demo. Now that you have seen how the AI model can work with your data, the next step is making its answers reliable inside your code. As you know, an AI response that changes shape from one request to another, it kind of forces you to predict every variation. Your parsing becomes fragile, your time disappears into handling text that should have been predictable. And that is the left side of the slide here. Unstructured outputs, constant guessing. However, for the AI kits in 4D21 removes that burden. You define the structure from the start and the model follows it. A schema with clear fields, a response with a clear shape. And that is the right side, a clean object ready for your workflow. Once you work with structured outputs, the improvement becomes obvious, and every AI response becomes something your application can trust. All right, now let us take a step back and look at what this means for your business. Not anything technical, it's just business perspective. With all AI features available by now, 4D21 becomes an AI engine you can talk to at a new level. Again, not as a hype, not as technology. It becomes a new revenue stream you can sell inside software your clients already rely on without rebuilding and without reinventing. I already know the hesitation around AI, and it is quite understandable. People or clients in general kind of expect something heavy and expensive when they hear about AI. Yet when you sit with your clients, they constantly want clarity, they want speed, they want insights, and they want relief. And they pay the moment you remove friction from their day. And this is where 4D21 delivers targeted small AI upgrades that solves real problems. Each upgrade becomes a billable feature client accepts immediately. And if the uncertainty comes from data protection or setup, you are not alone. You can ask us and we'll give you best practices, architectural guidance, or the guardrails. Also, the 4D forum is already full of early adopters sharing results. If you want tailored guidance, professional services is available. And if you want personal support, your sales representative is just one mail away. So you are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into something we call opportunity that you should not miss. Now, imagine the search bar finally thinking. It understands intent instead of letters. It detects meaning, similarity, and direction. It guides the user instead of forcing guesses. Now, that becomes a premium AI upgrade that clients proudly associate with their brand because every action feels more intelligent. The same story unfolds with 4D Write Pro documents. Imagine telling a team, give the document to your software and it will summarize itself, or it will jump straight to the paragraph you need, or it will label itself, extract its own insights, classify, enrich, structure automatically. Now, this is not theory, this is automation. Clients pay for because they immediately feel the hours they recover. Then you reach decisions, the hidden drain in every business. Imagine one 4D form becomes the place where users speak to their application and receive answers with context, as if an expert were standing beside them, helping them, guiding them. Now, AI here would explain the reason, the narrative, the pattern, and the movement behind numbers. It produces tables, charts, and clarity. And this here becomes your AI Insights add-on, your premium tier and your highest margin upgrade that you can sell. Even the course becomes monetizable. Duplicate records, messy text, unclassified items, and document errors turn into subscription modules that clean, enrich, tag, or route content automatically to the right reviewer. So I hope you see the pattern. Like, do you really see the pattern here that we're trying to show you? Here, you are not selling AI, you are selling transformation. Here, marketing would see it, sales see it, and users feels it. And here is the whisper that you can't really ignore. Your competitors haven't moved yet. Most are watching, waiting, hesitating, and this is your moment, the momentum of being the provider who integrated AI early. The market, as you all know, rewards first movers, not the loud ones, the ones who deliver. And 4021 gives you everything you need. Now, all you have to do is download the beta. LTS arrives mid-January, and every day you wait is revenue left untouched. So I hope the message is clear, and I hope that everyone is really ready to move forward and gets their hands on that. But before we continue, I just want to leave a quick note here. If you missed the recent AI webinar, the replay is now available. It shows how to add semantic search and drag to your 4D application with 4021 and 4D AI kits. If you have not watched it yet, it is worth your time because it connects directly to the features you can monetize today. Also, do not miss the replay from Ricardo Mello and Mathieu Ferry either. Their representation at 4D Method aligns perfectly with the AI webinar and deepens the same value story. Now, let us pause for a moment and see if anyone has questions before we move forward.
I think it was super clear. What I can just add is that we'll soon publish a blog post that will show you how you can add charts to your AI companion. You will see it's really funny to play not only with tables but with charts as well when you query your data.
All right, so let's just continue and enter the next parts of this webinar, which is deployments. And the first feature in 4021 concerning deployments is one your users will notice immediately. You rarely think about your network until the moment it kind of betrays you. And every developer knows that quite panic when a connection drops at the wrong time. A cable is pulled, Wi-Fi weakens, or you kind of move from one room to another. In the past, that single moment cost you progress. With 4021, it does not. Now here, QUIC protects the session instead of losing it. And this is not about networking, it is about trust, real trust that strengthens the value of your product because it stays solid under conditions you cannot control. And Damien here will show us how it behaves, and you will feel the difference the moment the demo begins.
Hello, everyone. Today, I'm excited to introduce the new network switching feature of the QUIC network layer in 4D21 tested under real-world conditions. Let's set the scene. On the right, there's a machine running an application with 4D server. On the left, there's another machine running a 4D remote connected to this server. This computer has two active network interfaces, Ethernet and Wi-Fi. Since Ethernet offers better performance, it's the connection that's currently being used. You can see its IP address in the interface. Now I'm starting a data import from 4D remote. Everything is going smoothly. The interface displays in real time the number of records being imported, which naturally increases. In previous versions of 4D, unplugging the Ethernet cable in the middle of an import was risky, so you had to wait for the operation to finish. But with 4D21 and the QUIC protocol, this limitation no longer exists. Now, watch what happens. I'm unplugging the Ethernet cable and the import keeps going without any interruption. The system automatically switched to Wi-Fi and the IP address updates in the interface. In the server administration window, you can see that the IP address of the 4D remote has changed and the import slows down slightly, which is normal with my Wi-Fi speed, but it completes successfully. Now, you might be wondering, what happens during the transfer of a large record, a big blob, or a video file? Here's what happens. I'm clicking on the Get Video button. This triggers a method on the server that returns a blob containing a large video file. As expected, the 4D server starts sending the blob to the remote server. You can see the activity in the server administration window. Now I'm plugging the Ethernet cable back to the remote computer. After a few seconds, the system automatically switches back to Ethernet. The IP address updates again in the interface, and the transfer of the blob continues without interruption. Once the transfer is complete, I can now see the downloaded file in this folder. And the video opens perfectly. So network switching works even during large data or local resource transfers. I hope this feature will be useful for the users of your applications. Thanks for following along. See you soon.
And thank you, Damien, for this amazing demo and showing us the actual difference. Now, let us move to the next feature. And for years, every 4D development environment kind of carried more than it needed. Components arrived by default, regardless of whether they served your projects. Now, it kind of worked, yet it never reflected the way developers think or build. And 4D21 changes that. Standard components now live outside the core, and you bring them in as dependencies only when you want them. You open the Add Dependency dialog, select what belongs in your projects, and 4D installs exactly what you asked for. Nothing extra, nothing unattended. And this is more than optional components. It is a development experience that finally matches your workflow, selective, modular, and fully under your control. Now, let us take a short break again and see if anyone has any section regarding if anyone has any questions regarding this section.
So yes, there are a few questions. So I'm gonna read it. So we appreciate your efforts on improving QUIC very much. Thank you for that. Thank you. You're welcome. The record switching feature is very useful when users switch from their desktop to the meeting room. So that's great. However, what we desperately need is an automatic recovery of the connection after a packet loss has occurred and the connection was lost due to a network error. And Damien answers correctly that we are working on that. Yes, we're currently working on this. Second question, does this only apply to client-server connection? I would love this feature for web users connecting with for the web server. So it's a little bit different for web things. The challenges are not the same. Yeah, it's only for client server connections. What you just saw with QUIC protocol. So let's continue on the QUIC feature. What happens when the connection drops? So both Wi-Fi and Ethernet, does it connect again? So as Damien said, we are working on a reconnection, better feature, yeah, on that. So what happens is that you will have a pop-up currently telling you that your connection was lost. Damien will give more details about that. About components, we have a build server without internet connection. How do you handle this situation with the dependency manager? So the dependency manager, I'm not sure about your question, but your dependency manager will download anyway the component, the dependencies you need. So once you have them, you don't need, you can build your application and it will contain your dependencies. No problem about that, if I understood well your question. So let's now talk a little bit about Qodly Pro. Yes, let's start with the first slide. So let's talk about interaction between Forms and Qodly pages. These features speaks to every Qodly developer. So no matter where you are with the web, if you are happy with your desktop app, you can keep it exactly as it is, but still modernize it. A Qodly page can now live inside your Qodly form and give you the UI elements you never had before. So it feels natural, it reacts instantly, and it runs on the same session that powers your form. If you plan to build a web app, you can start without pressure. You can add Qodly pages one at a time inside the application you already trust. You keep your logic, you keep your data, you build your web experience at your own pace. That is what you see on this slide. A Qodly page running inside a Qodly form, fully connected, fully interactive, and fully part of the same environment. This is not about choosing between desktop and web. It is about giving yourself the space to do both. You enrich your desktop app today, and if one day you want a separate web application, you grow it piece by piece without ever starting from zero. This is how your application becomes modern, on your terms. And let us see how to achieve this with this demo from Mourad.
In this demo, I will show you how you can use web areas and Qodly together with Qodly Pro to create a smooth hybrid desktop app. The goal is to show how Qodly logic and Qodly interfaces can work together as one fluid experience. On my Qodly form, I have a simple setup. On the left, you see a list of warehouses. On the right, there is a web area. This web area is not just showing a website, it is running a Qodly page that reacts instantly to whatever is selected on the list. Let me click through a few warehouses so you can see it in action. As soon as I switch, the details panel update. The name, capacity, category, location on the map, even the rating, all change in real time without the page reloading. Before we get into the code, I want to show you two important web area properties. I will open the properties list for web area, scroll all the way down, and you can see them here. Use embedded web rendering engine and access Qodly methods. These two options are required. The first one gives you a modern rendering engine. The second one lets your Qodly page communicate with your Qodly methods. If either one is off, the integration will not behave as you expect. Now, let's look at the object method of the web area. When the web area loads, an onload event fires. This event initializes everything. First, it loads the Qodly page. Second, it sets the context that the page will work with. In this example, the context contains a warehouse data class. Let me open that data class. Inside it, we have two methods. The first one, getWarehouseById, returns the warehouse entity based on an identifier. The second one, rate, updates the warehouse rating and saves the change. These are the methods that Qodly will call during runtime. Next, let's open the object method of the list box. On load, we select the first row so the web area has the data to display from the start. The important part happens whenever the user changes the selection. Right here, we call WA execute JavaScript function. Let me highlight it. This command calls Qodly.setSource inside the embedded page and passes it to the selected warehouse ID. That value is enough for Qodly page to update its warehouse source and refresh the details. Now, let's jump into Qodly Studio to see how page is structured. This is the detail space that appears inside the web area. It uses two custom components. The map component shows the exact coordinates of the warehouse. The rating component displays the rating and allows the user to modify it. Both components are linked to the warehouse entity that comes from the server context. I will share the component links in the resources. Let me show you how the data flows. The page loads with the first warehouse entity. Then we have an onChange event on the warehouse ID source. I will open the contextual panel so you can see it. When warehouse ID changes, Qodly calls the getWarehouseById in the server class and replaces the warehouse entity with the new one. This is why the page updates instantly when I change the selection in 40. Now, let's look at the rating component. I will select it and open the events. When the user changes the rating, the component triggers an onChange event. This event calls the rateCom function on the context. That updates the value in 40, saves it, and updated rating appears instantly inside the Qodly page. Let me change the rating live so you can see the full loop. I will give this warehouse a higher rating. The event fires, the data class method runs, and the new rating appears immediately. The round trip between Qodly and 40 is finished in a fraction of a second. Here is a simple warehouse list, but the pattern works for anything. Inventory management, product categories, customer dashboard, logistics interface. You can keep your existing 40 logic and data models and build a modern user interface in Qodly Studio that runs inside your desktop app. And with this, we wrap up our demo. Give it a try, experiment with your own data, and tell us what do you think. This integration opens the door to a very flexible workflow that blends the reliability of 40 with the freedom of Qodly Pro.
Thank you, Mourad. You'll be back in a second. Let's switch to another picture, which is the localization, internationalization, of Qodly pages. So localization has always existed in 4D through XLIF for desktop. But the web has its own rules. So that's why 4D Qodly Pro brings a built-in internationalization feature created specifically for Qodly pages. It keeps your workflow simple, and you change the language, but also the layout directly inside Qodly Studio without extra files or duplicated pages. The interface adapts instantly, and your design process stays the same. So we can see this once again with Mourad.
In this demo, I'll show you how Qodly makes localization simple, flexible, and truly production ready. Usually, translating an app means juggling files, repeating UI work, and slowing down development. Qodly changes that by making localization part of your actual workflow and simplifying the whole process by handling localization inside the editor. You translate what you see, and the page updates immediately with no extra steps. What I have here is a fictitious app homepage for a job board. To start translating our page, let's head over to localization and add the languages we want to translate to. In this case, I want to add translations for French, German, and Spanish. Cool. Now that we have added the languages we want to translate to, let's head over to our page and start translating. Click on the localization icon on the toolbar to choose the language you want to translate to. Now, let's start adding French translations. I have French translations already made in a text file, so let's just copy them over. As you can see, I can add translations visually by pasting the text straight into the editor. No file switching, no rebuilds. Every change updates the interface instantly. So I always see what I'm translating in context. It turns the whole process from jiggling JSON into something as simple as editing the page itself. Alright, we have successfully translated our page to French. Now let's add German and Spanish all in one go with some help from AI. Qodly allows you to export translations into two formats, CSV or JSON. Let's export to JSON and open it in our VS Code. There, I'm going to ask AI to add missing translations. Cool, the AI translation is complete and looking good. Now, let's import it. I'll just drop the generated JSON back into Qodly, and the platform instantly maps every key to the right element, no manual matching. It's imported, and it looks like it's working perfectly. As soon as the file loads, Qodly applies every translation to the right component, and the interface switches languages instantly. From here, we can jump between languages and check that everything looks good. You can think of localizations as states of your page. It is not just about changing text. You can also adjust the layout, colors, and font sizes to create custom styles for each language. This gives every version of your app its own polished, native feel. For French, I'll make the header text a bit smaller since the translation is longer and needs more breathing room. Cool, it looks good. As you can see, Qodly makes translating pages incredibly simple. I can't wait for the Qodly community to try it out and share their feedback.
Great demo. Thank you, Mourad. Thank you. Okay, now let us look at how Qodly Studio itself becomes faster, because we have other features in 4D21 for Qodly Studio, for the Qodly Pro. This release is not just about new features. It's about removing all the small frictions that slow you down. 3 features, each solving pains you have felt, even if you never named them. The first one is Events Report. So your page is more than just its component. It's also a chain of events that ties everything together. When something behaves unexpectedly, this report shows you the full story in one place. Every trigger, every action. The logic that usually hides in the background becomes clear. The next one is the page zoom. So good design, they need 2 perspectives. The full layout and the detail that changes everything. So now you move between them without breaking your flow. A quick shift to overview and a quick shift to precision. In other words, if you need to fine-tune a very small, precise area of your Qodly page, Qodly Studio now allows you to zoom right to it. And as your app deserves the perfect design, this is really useful. And to finish, the one-click start. So for anyone opening Qodly Studio for the first time from 4D, the setup disappears. One click and the required settings enable themselves. the studio opens, ready to work. So that's all for the Qodly Pro. Now let's take a few questions. I saw that custom components are not all ready for localization. Is this hard to do for a custom component developer? Honestly, I don't think so. And if they are not all ready, we can complete the work. Just let us know. Let us know on the forum, for example, if I don't know exactly which one are not still ready for localization. Don't think it's too hard. I propose you to continue with Bérengère.
Yes, thank you, Mathieu. Now, let us move into the next session of this webinar, which is the development features. Every entity operation carries a sequence, a moment before it begins, the moment it happens, and the moment it ends. With 4021, ORDA finally gives you control over all of it. The validation before the write, the action during the write, and the confirmation after the write. Each phase becomes a place where your logic protects the integrity of your data. The same discipline applies when something is removed. And here's the ring game. These entity events don't just extend what triggers could do, they replace them. You get more phases, finer control, cleaner implementation, and fewer lock constraints. All inside the data class itself, where your logic naturally belongs. Marie-Sophie will show you how the technical side works in the following demo.
Welcome to this demo on ORDA events. The purpose of this feature is to manage data persistence actions, such as save or drop, using a fully event-driven logic. In these ORDA events, we will implement the business logic related to save and drop actions. Until now, this was handled in triggers, but as you'll see, ORDA events offer much more control, a finer level of granularity, and also error handling directly by the developer, which allows you to stop the save or drop action. And the main advantage of these events is that they guarantee data integrity. Events are part of the ORDA abstraction layer, so their implementation is done in an ORDA class, the entity class, and they are not triggered by standard 4D code or SQL. They can coexist with triggers, but the triggers will be simply executed after the ORDA events. Events are implemented in a single place, in a class, and then the entire event logic comes into play and triggers the appropriate events according to the persistence actions performed on the data. As I mentioned, the granularity is finer. This granularity is divided into 3 stages. There is before the save or drop action, so we're mainly talking about validation, during the action and after the save or drop action. So for the demo, I'm going to walk you through the how do I that was provided in the blog post, and we'll look in detail at the save action, knowing that for the drop action, the logic is the same. So here, we're creating products with a margin. The margin attribute must be greater than 50%. So that's the difference between the cost price and the retail price. When saving, we save the product's user manual to disk and specify its path in the user manual pass attribute. I'm going to set a breakpoint on the first event. All of this will take place in the production entity class. I'm setting a breakpoint in the validate save event that we configured for the margin attribute. I'm creating a new product, which name is demo. You can see that the user manual pass attribute already contains the path to the user manual on disk, and the status is OK. Here I'm in my event. I'm in a case where the margin is less than 50%. I have the option to return an error. At this point, we're in the validate. We're not yet in the save action itself, so I have the option to return an error to check the consistency of the data and their values. The goal is to have data ready to be saved when we actually get to the save action. So here, everything has been stopped, the save hasn't been executed, and we can now send feedback to the user. So I'm going to set 2 more breakpoints, one in the second saving event and another in the third event, the after save. And on the product I'm currently creating, I correct the retail price so that this time I have a margin greater than 50%, and I'm going to check the option below to simulate running out of disk space when saving the user manual to disk. So now I'm in the saving event. So here we're precisely in the save action itself. And since I no longer have space on the disk to save the user manual, I have the option to return an error to interrupt this save action and ensure data integrity. So the save action here was stopped, and I am now in the third event, the after save, which is triggered whether the save fails or not. And the main purpose of this event is to manage data integrity in case of an error. So in this case here, I detect that there's an error. My file wasn't saved to the disk, so I reset the user manual attribute so that it's consistent, and I set the status to KO. And I can also send this feedback back to the user, and you can see that the user manual path attribute is an empty string and the status is KO. Also, be aware that for these events, there is no massive lock on the entire table. So here, I don't have a massive lock on the whole product table. We just lock the specific record concerned, so we can have several saving events running in parallel on the same table for different entities. Thank you for watching and listening to this demo.
Thank you, Marie-Sophie. Now, let's look at Fluent UI, a feature that brings a modern, Windows-aligned interface to your 4D applications. But Fluent UI in 4D isn't just a theme, it's a full technical upgrade. A new API, a rebuilt communication layer between 4D and Windows, and native integration with WinUI 3, which is Microsoft's latest UI technology. This gives your form a modern Windows look while staying compatible, future-proof, and ready for upcoming Windows versions. Do keep in mind that Fluent UI in 4D21 is a developer preview. It's not part of the LTS release, but you can continue testing it in 4D21 R2. And your feedback now shapes the final version. And Vanessa will show us in her demo how easy it is to enable and how different it feels visually.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about an important new feature introduced as a developer preview in 4D21, the integration of Fluent UI, Microsoft's modern design system. Fluent UI is a visual style that's cleaner, more spacious, with shadows, rounded corners, and of course, dark mode. Depending on the platform, there are different frameworks available for Fluent UI. In our case, for desktop applications with native controls, it's the WinUI 3 technology that has been implemented. But be careful. Fluent UI in 4D isn't just a new theme applied to your forms. It's a deep evolution, a change in API, a complete rewrite of the communication layers between 4D and the operating system. The goal is to ensure the longevity of your applications on future versions of Windows while modernizing their appearance. And all of this without breaking compatibility with your existing forms. The migration to Fluent UI has been designed to be gradual and reversible. You can enable the new design at 2 levels, either for the entire project or on a form-by-form basis. With a single click, your interface adopts the new Fluent look, buttons, fields, checkboxes. Everything takes on a more modern feel, more in line with Windows 11. If you disable Fluent UI, everything returns to the classic appearance. This allows you to test without risk and gradually adapt your screens. Visually, the change is noticeable. Objects are a bit larger and more spaced out. And of course, dark mode is supported. Now, let's try with a more complex database, the contact application, and check its compatibility. Let's go into the settings. Enable Fluent UI and nothing changes. Technically, everything remains the same. Same code, same objects, same events. But now, you benefit from the latest Windows API, which ensures better future compatibility and improved performance. This integration is currently in developer preview. It will not be included in the final version of 4D21, but you will still be able to test it. In 4D21 R2, our goal is to gather your feedback starting now. What are your impressions? What improvements have you noticed? Any unexpected behaviors? Now is the perfect time to influence the final version. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Now, let us turn to components. With 4D21, you can edit component code directly inside the host project. For anyone who relies heavily on components, this is a real quality of life upgrade. Now, you no longer need a second project window, no context switching, no back and forth to make small adjustments. Your reusable codebase stays separate where it should, yet immediately accessible where you work. And let us see how it happens with Fabrice demo.
Hello everyone. Until now, modifying a component from a host project could be a laborious process, as it required several reloads and repeated restarts. So we've enhanced the 4D Explorer to allow you to display and modify a component from a project that uses it. As you may have already noticed, these new icons symbolize the components that are editable, that is, those created in project mode and installed with their source code. With 4D21, you can double-click on one of these components to open a tab bar at the top, which lets you navigate between your host projects and your components. In the components left-hand toolbar, you'll find the usual items: Home, which shows the component's tree structure; Methods, which gives you access to the component's classes and methods; Commands, constants, and plugins, which list what is available in the component; and finally, the Trash, where deleted methods or classes can be viewed and restored. Next, the two tabs Tables and Forms are not accessible. Tables, because a component's tables cannot be accessed from the host, and the Forms tab, because the form management interface has not yet been fully developed. Of course, this interface allows you to modify, add, or delete classes or methods. For example, here I can, for instance, add a new class, in which I will create a function. I can also create new methods in which I can call, for example, the function we just created. And I can test my code, and here we can see that the function's code was indeed called. Of course, I can also share this method with the host project. This allows me to call it directly from a method within the host project. And of course I can run it, and we can see that the function was indeed called. You can also delete them. So for example, here I can delete method 7 and my class. And if we go to the trash, we can see the method and the class that were just deleted. We can go even further by creating a component directly from the host project. This opens a selector already in the components directory of our host project, and all that's left is to enter the project's name. My new component, for example. And there you have it. We can see that a new tab has been created with the name of the new project. Here we have the default tree structure. We can go ahead and create a new method if we want. Here you can add some code and so on. In conclusion, you can already perform a large part of your component development directly within your host project. However, keep in mind that these developments are not finished. There will be more improvements to come, such as being able to build a component at the same time as a host project. So, I invite you to check the 4D blog regularly to see what's new on these topics. Thank you all, and see you soon.
Thank you, Fabrice. Now, let's move to the next feature, HTTP response headers. With 4D21, you no longer need reverse proxies or external tools to shape your web layer. Your entire response policy is defined directly inside the 4D HTTP server. Set your rules once they apply everywhere, add or remove headers, enforce security policies, redirect to a CDN, block sensitive path, or return custom status codes, all from a single configuration. The result is a cleaner, more predictable web layer and a level of serenity that comes from knowing everywhere request it behaves exactly as your application needs. Now let's move us to what 4D21 brings to authentication, to upgrades that remove friction from flows you're built every day. First, 4D NetKit now accepts full URLs redirection, so your authentication flows lands users exactly where you want them, whether success or failure. Second, OpenID Connects gives you verified identity information directly from the provider, allowing your app to confirm who the user is with confidence. Together, these two additions bring clarity to your authentication flow. Your users arrive where they should, your security gains strength, and your code stays focused on the product you are building. Now, with 4D21, the shift is complete. The modern native classes are now strong enough that we can officially say goodbye to the 4D internet commands. You work with a new generation of tools, secure TCP with optional TLS, cleaner UDP, stronger email transporters, and unified support for today's internet protocols. Everything is thread-safe, event-driven, and built for the security standards you rely on today. And if refactoring your code takes time, the 4D Internet Commands version 20 remains compatible with 4D21. And with that, we'll move to one last section that gathers the remaining features we couldn't cover due to the time. First, you get unified visibility over your server activity, REST calls, SOAP actions, and 4D action requests all appears as real sessions you can inspect. You instantly see who is connected, how they connected, and the state they're in. Second, HTTPS requests now use certificates directly from the Windows Certificate Store. No files on disk, no risky handling. Certificates stay protected at the system level, and 4D retrieves everything automatically when a request is sent. Third, TCP communication is now secure by design. Enable TLS, complete the handshake, and your data travels encrypted. Fourth, partner developer licenses are handled automatically. You sign in once, and 4D brings the right license to your machine on its own. And finally, the 4D language becomes more expressive. Base conversion are easier with enhanced string and num commands, and new trim functions clean up inputs without boilerplate code. And this is mostly the end of the webinar, but we have another question section.
We had a couple of questions. So one question about how the event, especially the after save event, gets along with transactions. And in fact, here we will provide you the answer separately. We need a little bit more time to answer you. And another question here, what's the best way to maximize web security by using Cloudflare or similar to protect for the APIs for the web apps with 4020 or 4021? Honestly, it's quite a large question for such a webinar. I think we would need maybe a dedicated webinar on that. So really on that, use the forum maybe to and we can share experiences about that. We only have a couple of minutes here. Are there tools to speed up migration of legacy 40 apps to multi-threaded apps? Tools, I'm not sure. Once again, I guess you can get help on this with on the forum where people already had, I guess, similar experiences here, and also professional services also can be of some help here if forum is not enough. Okay, I mean, we are almost right on time. We tried to do it shorter this time, so let's jump to the last announcement. So before leaving, we remind you of this upcoming webinar from Marie-Sophie about securing data with Qodly Pro. So you will learn here how to configure your permissions, define profiles, manage your licenses usage, and build a safe front-end experience with login, navigation, filtered queries, restricted queries, in fact, and dynamic pages that adapt to the end user's profile. So don't miss it. It's next week. You have an English session and a French session also here, 2 English sessions for English speakers. So don't miss it. It will be very, very interesting. We shared a couple of links. We shared the links here on the chat for you to subscribe to this brilliant upcoming webinar. That's it. As usual, you can find more on our blog on blog.4d.com. As I said, we tried to keep it as short as possible, but 4D21 is a very, very rich version, and we did what we could to stay on time. So thank you for attending, and let's see for the next webinar.